Imagine waking up one day, opening up your crypto portfolio and seeing that one Bitcoin is worth $13 million. Yes, just one Bitcoin. For most people, this number is far out of their reach, something they cannot imagine. Yet there's one billionaire who predicts that by 2045, this will actually become a reality. In this video, I'm going to discuss who this billionaire actually is, why he's making this jaw-dropping prediction, and what this means for you. So let's dive in. My name is 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗰𝗹. Welcome to my channel. And before we get started with this video, I've got one quick favor to ask you. If you enjoy watching videos like this one, then make sure to smash the like button, because I'm going to be posting videos regularly throughout this crypto bull market cycle to help you to get an edge as an investor in this complex market. And if you haven't done so yet, also make sure to subscribe to my channel so that you don't miss out on any of the videos that I put out. Now, let's dive in. The billionaire who predicts that Bitcoin can go to $13 million per Bitcoin by 2045. So in this video, we're going to discuss who this billionaire is and how he came to this prediction. Let's briefly zoom out. I believe that if you want to become successful, no matter in what area of life, whether it's business, finances, health, fitness, love, happiness, I believe that success leaves clues. And Tony Robbins, one of the best success coaches, motivators in the world, he has this famous quote. And he says, if you want to become successful, find someone who has achieved the results that you want to achieve and copy what they do, and you'll achieve the same results. Well, this is exactly the formula that I apply to my life. Whenever I want to achieve certain success in business and I see someone that's 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of me, I try to find the right person that fits that criteria, and I copy exactly step by step what that person has done to achieve that result. And in many of the cases, when I exactly copy their blueprint, I get a very similar result. Now, why do we start with this quote from Tony Robbins? Well, I want to talk about an important concept, which I call the paradigm. What is a paradigm, in case you don't know it? A paradigm is how you look at the world. So everyone's paradigm is formed by all of the experiences they've had in their life, all of the things that society has forced upon them, all of the education that your parents have given you about what is good, what is bad, how you should behave in certain situations, how you shouldn't behave in certain situations. And how you look at the world determines whether you're going to see problems or opportunities. Two different people could look at the same situation, and one could see opportunities, the other could see problems. And when I discuss the concept of a paradigm, I sort of like to use the analogy of using sunglasses. Let's say that you use a pair of blue sunglasses. Well, then you're going to observe the world very blue, because all of the light that hits your sunglasses will be shown as blue light in your eye. Well, similarly, when you're wearing a pair of orange glasses and light hits those orange glasses, then your eyes are going to perceive the world very orange, maybe very happy or very sunny, or whatever the color orange might invoke in you. Well, what I want you to do is I want you to put yourself into someone else's paradigm in this video. We're going to study someone, and I want to show you how this person looks at the world and what opportunity they are seeing because of their worldviews right now. And in fact, this particular person with this paradigm, which we're going to study, is actually on track to build the next trillion-dollar company, in my opinion. And again, it's still quite early, but we're seeing very positive developments with this person and this company that we're going to study in this video. So pay close attention, because maybe at the end of this video, you will want to adopt a different paradigm than you're currently adopting. So the person whose paradigm we're going to analyze in this video is that of Michael Saylor. So Michael Saylor is a billionaire in the United States. He has currently a net worth of $6.4 billion. And there's a lot of people right now listening, studying, exactly everything that Michael Saylor is saying on all of the podcasts, all of the interviews that he's giving, all of the content that he's putting out there, because it leaves a lot of very important clues about how he is thinking and looking at the world right now. When I see that someone has generated $6.4 billion in net worth, that person has probably done something really well. So now we're going to reverse engineer what Michael Saylor is understanding about the world that we are probably not understanding, or that many people are not understanding, which has enabled him to capitalize on a big opportunity. So Michael Saylor is the CEO of a company called MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy has a very impressive track record. In 2020, MicroStrategy decided that they were going to adopt a Bitcoin treasury strategy. They had a lot of money sitting in their bank account, becoming worthless over time due to inflation. And after doing a lot of research, Michael Saylor and the board of MicroStrategy came to the conclusion that one of the best things that they could do with their excess cash was to invest it in Bitcoin. So since 2020, they have been accumulating more and more Bitcoin over time. In fact, they have purchased Bitcoin around 40 times in the past 4 years. And this has resulted in the fact that MicroStrategy shares have soared with more than 1,500% since 2020. So this means that it has paid off quite a lot. And it has far outperformed the S&P 500. In case you don't know what the S&P 500 is, that's a basket of the 500 largest publicly traded companies on the US stock exchange. And Michael Saylor has recently come out with a very bold prediction. He's actually predicting that around 7% of the global wealth is going to go into Bitcoin. So he's predicting a reallocation of the global wealth, and around 7% of it is going to go into Bitcoin in the next 21 years. And this will result in Bitcoin achieving a price of approximately $13 million per Bitcoin. So that's a super interesting and bold prediction. Now let's dive a little bit deeper into this prediction. So right now, if we look at the global wealth, the distribution of global wealth, we see that the global asset value is around $900 trillion. And all of that wealth is divided across different asset classes: gold, art, cars and collectibles, equities. So with equities, we mean equity in companies. So stocks, for example, real estate, bonds, and cash. So right now, around 1 trillion of this 900 trillion is parked in Bitcoin. Michael Saylor is expecting that these proportions, these ratios between different assets is going to shift over time. Now, that could be very interesting because 900 trillion is a lot of money, a lot of wealth. And he's expecting that 7% of that is going to flow into Bitcoin. So Michael Saylor continued to give his 21-year forecast, and he's giving 3 scenarios. He's giving the bear case scenario, and in case you don't know what that means, it's like the worst case scenario. We have his base case scenario, which should be his most likely outcome, and then we have the bull case scenario, which is the most optimistic scenario that he is basically predicting. So he's saying, today, 2024, the price of Bitcoin is around 65K. Today, it's around 67K, 68K, 69K. It's somewhere around that range. It has around 0.1% of the entire market. So if we look at this 900 trillion, then around 0.1% of that is parked into Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a market cap of around 1.3 trillion. And he's saying that in the worst case scenario in 2024, according to Michael Saylor's predictions, Bitcoin should be worth around $3 million per Bitcoin. Imagine the arbitrage opportunity that you have today. You could buy a Bitcoin for 65K or a little bit more, and by just holding it for around 20 years, it would be worth $3 million in the worst case, according to Michael Saylor. But what if it's not the worst case? What if it's his base case, so his most likely outcome according to his calculations? And here you see how he determines the bear case, the base case, and the bull case. So in the bear case, around 2% of the global asset value is going to go into Bitcoin. So yeah, that will bring the market cap of Bitcoin to around 68 trillion. Then his base case, 7% of this global asset value is going to go into Bitcoin. So that will bring Bitcoin's price to $13 million per Bitcoin. Just imagine opening up your Bitcoin wallet and you see that one Bitcoin is worth 13 million and it's the year 2045. How much regret would you have that you hadn't accumulated more Bitcoin? So maybe it's time to rethink your investment strategy right now. Maybe if you believe that there might be some likelihood that Michael Saylor is right. In my opinion, Michael Saylor is one of the most intelligent people I see in the Bitcoin space right now. He is educated on MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a very high-level university in the US, if not one of the best universities. Then we have his bull case. So his most optimistic case implies that around 22% of the entire global asset market goes into Bitcoin. And this would bring Bitcoin to a price of $49 million per Bitcoin. And right now you might believe, wow, that's such a high number for one single Bitcoin. Whereas less than 15 years ago, one Bitcoin would be worth less than $1. Yeah, I understand that you might believe that. But keep in mind that right now there's a lot of adoption happening. Institutions are FOMOing into Bitcoin at a record pace. Earlier this year, the 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗺𝗏 spot ETF was launched. In just a few months' time, they have purchased 400,000 Bitcoin. There's going to be a maximum supply of 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be in circulation. And right now, everyone is rushing in to get their hands on some Bitcoin. So don't be surprised when Bitcoin shoots up to multiple 7 figures per Bitcoin. Is this a guarantee? No, it's not a guarantee. But by looking at people like Michael Saylor, again, this comes down to his paradigm. So Michael Saylor is a billionaire. He's accumulated a lot of wealth because he looks at the world in a certain way. He sees patterns that many people don't see, and that's why he has been able to grow his wealth that quickly. And my goal with this video is to show you his paradigm and how he looks at things so that you can decide for yourself whether you believe it and whether you want to capitalize on this opportunity or not. It's all up to you. I'm just showing you how he thinks because I have studied a lot of Michael Saylor's content, a lot of his podcasts, a lot of his interviews, and there's a lot of very interesting insights to be uncovered from there. So he's saying that there will be a redistribution of wealth across different assets. So earlier, you saw this diagram, and this is how currently the global wealth is distributed across different assets. So he is saying that we're probably going to see gold grow from 12 trillion to 45 trillion. We're going to see art go from 18 trillion to 110 trillion. We're going to see Bitcoin go from around 1 trillion to 280 trillion, which should then be around 7% of the entire global wealth. Cash, because we keep on printing more cash, will grow from 120 trillion to 500 trillion. Bonds is going to grow as well, 300 trillion to 840 trillion. Stocks, 150 trillion to 850 trillion. And real estate is also going to grow to $1,360 trillion. So real estate is going to be the biggest asset class according to Michael Saylor, but proportionally more of the global wealth is going to go into Bitcoin according to his investment thesis. So what are the big drivers of this redistribution? Because when we see certain ratios across different assets, what would cause a change in these ratios and proportions? Well, there are a few different drivers that are causing this change. And the first driver, and I would argue one of the biggest drivers, is the massive institutional adoption. I already mentioned it earlier in this video. In the first part of this year, we saw the approval of the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And now we're seeing a lot of institutions which are aggressively getting into Bitcoin with Bitcoin-related products, ETFs, you name it. And one very noteworthy one is 𝗗𝗶𝘀𝗶𝗺𝗏, which is BlackRock's spot ETF. Within a very short period of time, they have accumulated 417,000 Bitcoin and they keep on buying more and more. And BlackRock manages over $10 trillion worth of assets. Imagine if just a few percentage of the assets under management that BlackRock has is going to flow into Bitcoin. That already means that billions will flow into Bitcoin, which will drive up the price of Bitcoin. And since we already have a very low supply available on the market because more and more people are hodling and not selling their Bitcoin, it means that very soon we might see a massive supply shock, which could send Bitcoin to unprecedented heights. Then the second driver is corporations buying Bitcoin. Well, we of course already know the case of MicroStrategy. So if I scroll up, MicroStrategy has purchased Bitcoin over 40 times in the past 4 years. And when they're buying Bitcoin, they buy millions or billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and they do this consistently over time. And recently we saw an announcement by Microsoft that they're also going to vote very soon on whether Microsoft should also adopt a Bitcoin treasury strategy like MicroStrategy. So companies like Microsoft, they are in the top 10 biggest companies in the world, and they're sitting on piles and piles of cash, literally billions. Imagine if Microsoft would allocate a percentage of their cash pile to Bitcoin. And trust me, when Microsoft does it, then probably Apple will do it too, and Nvidia is going to do it too, and Alphabet or Google is going to do it too. So then we're going to see a domino effect of corporations which are going to allocate parts of their treasuries to Bitcoin. And this would open the floodgates to a whole new tsunami of capital in the Bitcoin market. So when you hear numbers like a $3 million Bitcoin or a $13 million Bitcoin, then when such large sums of money enter the market and such big players enter the market, then I do believe personally, you don't have to believe this, but I believe that these numbers might be realistic within a 20-year time frame. The third driver is that Bitcoin is slowly becoming a standard, a part of standard portfolio. So what do I mean? Whenever you're sitting with a financial advisor, financial advisors oftentimes have different model portfolios depending on your age, your risk appetite. And for the longest time, financial advisors were not recommending Bitcoin for their clientele. But now we're seeing a shift in that. Here, for example, this tweet, $1.7 trillion Wells Fargo advisors are going to actively pitch Bitcoin ETFs in September. So now we're seeing a shift where these institutions, these banks, these financial advisors are going to start to recommend Bitcoin to their clients as a regular component of their investment portfolio. So right now, the percentage of Bitcoin holders compared to the entire population is very small. But when we're seeing that banks and institutions are going to actively push and promote this to their clientele, and that is going to become a standard part of everyone's portfolio or most investors' portfolio, then again, we're going to see so much more money come into the market because it wants to have some kind of exposure or allocation to Bitcoin. And then the fifth driver of this could be that countries could start to adopt Bitcoin. We already know about El Salvador, which is buying Bitcoin every single day. We know about Bhutan, which is mining Bitcoin. We heard rumors that Argentina is considering getting involved with Bitcoin. And we also heard President Trump also announce at Bitcoin 2024 that he was interested in making Bitcoin a strategic reserve asset. Now, when countries get into Bitcoin, again, you're going to see a lot of money printers, governmental money printers, printing fiat money to buy Bitcoin. Why would they do that? Because Bitcoin increases in value over time. At least it has done so for the past 15 years, and we expect it to do so because it's a scarce asset. You cannot simply create more Bitcoin, whereas money can be created out of thin air, and over time, money becomes worth less. So by allocating a part of their treasury to something that increases in value over time, then they can actually build up a very strong position. So here you see Senator Cynthia Lummis says creating a strategic Bitcoin reserve will cut the US national debt in half. So imagine that a country like the US prints trillions of dollars out of thin air to buy Bitcoin. They hold it on their balance sheet for a few years, then Bitcoin increases in value, and then they cash out some of their position to pay off their national debt. That could be a very interesting play. And then the fifth one is more regulatory clarity. And for the past 15 years, it has been very gray area, all of the regulations around crypto. It wasn't really clear how governments wanted to regulate crypto and Bitcoin in particular. So now we're seeing that we're getting more clarity. We're seeing some lawsuits left and right between Coinbase, Binance, and other crypto companies, which are shedding some more light about the framework of laws and regulations around the crypto industry. Also in the US, we have, of course, the SEC, which is the authority which is basically regulating securities and the financial markets. And President Trump actually made an announcement that if he gets elected, then he's going to fire the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, which has, in the past few years, has been very vague about how he wants to regulate the crypto space. And by removing people like Gary Gensler from their position and by installing more favorable people in those positions, he wants to create a better regulatory framework. And according to Trump's own words, he wants to make he wants to make the US the crypto capital of the world. So he wants to create very favorable rules and regulations for that particular industry. So yeah, that again might bring in a lot of new money and new investors and new eyeballs into the financial markets, which might not have been interested in that asset before. Because the more uncertainty there is around a particular asset or industry, the more certain groups of low-risk investors will stay out of that market. So now we have looked at Michael Saylor's bold prediction that Bitcoin is going to go to $13 million per Bitcoin by 2045. We have kind of dived into his paradigm. We dissected how he believes that Bitcoin will go there. We've seen his bear case, his base case, and his bull case, ranging from $3 million all the way up to $49 million per Bitcoin. We also discussed the 5 factors which could actually drive Bitcoin's price up to those very high numbers. Now it's up to you. Do you believe that Bitcoin could actually achieve such a valuation in the next 20 to 21 years? Let me know in the comments below if you believe that this is realistic or not. I'm very curious to read your answer. And if you got good value out of this video, then do me a quick favor, smash the like button so I know that you got value out of this video. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, also make sure to hit that subscribe button. That being said, peace out. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.